Thank you very much, dear British friends. Good morning. It's my great privilege and honor to be here with you today in Worcester in this quite impressive guild hall, invited by the only reasonable party in all of the United Kingdom. Thank you very much, Nate and George, for inviting me as the youth president of the Belgian-Flemish Interest Party here. Our mother parties aren't currently not in the same group in the European Parliament, yet we do understand that we have a common goal and interest. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. When I first met you guys a few months ago in Germany, I immediately saw and knew that you had the energy and willpower to make young independence great again. And according to the overwhelming audience present here today, I think that's exactly what you are doing. As you might have heard by now, English is far from my mother tongue, but I will try to conduct my speech in your beautiful language because I believe that when you are invited somewhere as a guest, you have to adapt and not the other way around. And standing here today as a Fleming, together with British, German and Italian young men, reminds me of history. Tomorrow, 100 years ago, our ancestors ended World War I. They ended 4 devastating years of useless bloodshed that mostly served an unworldly establishment that did not really care about the people it ought to represent. Yet our great-grandfathers spent 4 years in the trenches, fighting, and on both sides they believed they were fighting for a better future for their children and grandchildren, a future of opportunity, a future of freedom. And standing here today, I can say with confidence that they fought for us, and not for the people outside shouting. Absolutely not. A bunch of complete idiots and self-proclaimed free speech advocates who in truth have no appreciation for freedom at all. So dear young UKIPers, we are perhaps the last generation, and we are also in a war. We will have to fight for our future, and it won't be easy, but it is very, very necessary. We are under attack from all sides. In our schools, our youngsters are getting brainwashed by far-left liberal teachers. In Belgium, our teenagers are taught more about things like Ramadan than about our own proper Christian traditions, or even our own history. They'll be able to tell you a lot about men like Che Guevara, but oftentimes I've never heard of a man named Winston Churchill. If I would show them a picture of Winston Churchill, they would probably think he's a very successful cigar salesman or something. In some schools in Brussels, teachers are refusing to speak about my political party during lessons about national politics. They say our stance on mass immigration would be too shocking or hard for some of these teenagers. And we are also under attack from the media. The journalists of the big media concerns, they are no longer involved in bringing us the news. They have become true propagandists, feeding you their narrow-minded view of reality, and they'll do just about anything to disgrace just anyone who doesn't think the same way they do. But times are changing. We no longer need TV or newspapers to digest the news. We have internet, we have social media, we have the opportunity to do our own research online and even share it with our peers. And it's working. It's working. We can see it on social media like Facebook, where our political parties or our political leaders are always among the most liked political pages. And we can see it on things like YouTube, where people like Sargon of Akkad, who is to speak here today, are reaching hundreds of thousands of people every week. But also this freedom is under attack. In the last 2 years, we were able to see how our German friends from the AfD were shadow banned on Facebook during the national elections. How Dutch politician Geert Wilders, his tweets are invisible for most German Twitter users. How, sorry for mentioning again, Tommy Robinson's Instagram account was temporarily deleted, and how even I was banned from Facebook for 24 hours for simply criticizing Muslims who want to wear a hijab in primary school. And whether it's in the classroom, on TV, or on the internet, we will have to keep standing up to defend this freedom of speech. But we must also fight for a safe society, for a safe Flanders, for a safe Great Britain, for a country where our youngsters are not surrendered to the consequences of drug abuse or nihilism, and a country where our youngsters have the ability and are allowed to defend themselves and their loved ones. Unlike in Belgium, where you are allowed to carry around hard drugs, but where the possession of pepper spray, a harmless product to fend off rapists and robbers, is considered highly illegal and can even get you into prison. And ultimately, we have to stop and reverse the replacement of our own people in our own homelands. We have to make sure that the Camp of the Saints scenario by French writer Jean Raspail must never take place. We must immediately take back control of our borders and close them for mass migration. It's time to put our own people first again. Now, how do we all achieve this? Well, it starts by yourself, actually. Be bold if you have to. Be radical. Stand up for your beliefs, always and everywhere. And never ever apologize for your own political opinion. Be proud. If you don't respect yourself, how can you expect others to respect you? Not mass immigration, nor even the EU establishment are our biggest adversaries. It is often our own biggest enemy is often our own self-hate. So be proud of yourself always. You can start by simply straightening your own back. Be strong. First and foremost, deal with your own problems and get your things in order. A true patriot does not make excuses or feels a lot of self-pity. Be identitarian. Never renounce your origin. A tree is only as big and as strong as its own roots. So never apologize for the history of your people or your nation. Be ambitious. Try to do better every time. Push yourself to the limit. Don't always choose the easy way, choose the hard way. And be resolute. Dare to do, dare to attempt, but especially dare to fail. Dare to start again and again, because people who give up will never be winners. So how can we as young people conduct this political warfare? Well, it's also quite simple. We just have to use the system of our enemies against them. And I have an example from my situation, from my youth party. So a few months ago, there were hundreds of liberal professors, like you also have in your country, and they wrote an open letter about the immigration policy of my country and how, according to them, it demonizes and penalizes so-called immigrant refugees, and that we as a nation should do much more to help those poor asylum seekers. And helped by their liberal friends from their past, their letter, of course, gained a lot of media coverage. So we had the idea to check if they would put their money where their mouth was. And what we did was get a list with all the names and home addresses of these liberal professors, print them on leaflets with the heading "Free Food and Housing," and hand these leaflets out to illegal immigrants squatting in parks and train stations in Brussels. And we, of course, didn't forget to make a video about it and share it and broadcast it on our social media. And it was an immediate hit. And of course, the oh-so-open-minded liberal professors started to threaten us with all kinds of suits and other very illegal sound stuff, but nothing really happened apart from the fact that the media gave us tons of free press coverage. And as a result, the public opinion completely shifted to our side, and we gained hundreds of new members in a single week, and thus became Belgium's biggest political youth party. And the professors... And the professors, on their end, ended up giving shelter to just about 0 immigrants. This is a perfect example of how we can use the system, all the rules of our opponents against them in a very easy and effective way. Political guerrilla warfare. Another example, some far-left NGO was hosting a refugee walk where people could come and walk to support so-called refugees. And we just went there with a banner and some leaflets. And journalists who already were present on the scene came to us and interviewed us. And that's how we, with little to no effort, hijacked the work of this far-left organization, because now we were being mentioned in every news article about this so-called refugee walk. This is, of course, nothing new. These tactics were all written down long ago in a book called Rules for Radical. It's a book written in 1969 by professional activist Saul Alinsky. You should really read it. You can download it for free, I think. And by following these rules, we were able to transform our youth party from practically inexistent to become the largest in just 3 years' time. Secondly, try to be where young people are. Go to schools, have representatives in popular youth movements, and like I think it was Joe said before, try to be present on university. Next week we will also be rolling out our student chapters in 2 of the largest student cities. Very interesting. Third, be creative. Do not only organize traditional political events like debates and lectures. Of course, keep doing it, but that's not enough. Try to create culture. Politics is downstream from popular culture. That's why you see Jeremy Corbyn climbing up on stage in Glastonbury shouting empty words. That's why you saw all kinds of actors and performers supporting Hillary Clinton in the United States. We are in a culture war, and most people don't have the interest or the time to study hardcore politics like we do. What they know, they get fed by celebrities and through popular culture. So make sure that we're not missing out on stage. Make music, videos, or art, and infuse it with our political ideas. And lastly, have courage. Have courage to broaden the political debate. Dare to speak about the unspeakable. Find new subjects, even if at this time it is considered a taboo by the status quo. Be a little like Enoch Powell, who during the 1960s had the guts to talk about mass immigration long before it became a mainstream political issue. Be, as the French say, avant-garde in everything you do. Now back to the present. We are part of a revolution. Everywhere in the world, people and movements who echo our political ideas are on the rise and even winning elections. We saw it in Brazil, where now Jair Bolsonaro won the elections. We saw it in Hungary. We saw it in Austria and Italy, where our friends are now part of government. And we, of course, saw it in the United States of America, where Donald Trump will be in the White House for another 6 years. And I like to believe this revolution actually started right here in Great Britain. I still remember the spring of 2016. After a terrible year filled with unseen influxes of mass immigration, deadly terrorist strikes all over the Western Europe, including my country, and the mass rapings on New Year's Eve in Cologne. But then came June 23rd, when you people decided they had had enough of it. Brexit came as a complete surprise and smashed the entire establishment. It more importantly showed the rest of the world that through elections and political activism, we, the people, can and should reclaim our own future. But we mustn't linger. As we speak, our opponents are working against us. They are creating utter anti-democratic pacts that will take away our rights of self-governance. On December the 10th, my government, and probably also yours, will be signing the Marrakesh Migration Pact, a pact that will oblige our Western countries to take in unprecedented amounts of new immigrants, mostly coming from Africa, a continent that's 6 times larger than ours, and a continent whose population will double in the coming 20 years. We really need to oppose this pact, due to a lot of criticism from the people in the governments from the US, Austria, Poland, and Hungary have already withdrawn from signing it, and we must try to do the same in our own countries. Not doing so will have severe consequences for your and my future. And as for Brexit, do not trust the European establishment, nor even your own Theresa May government. We have seen in the past that the powers that be have always, or often, ignored the outcome of referendums they didn't like. In 2005, they simply ignored the outcome of referendums held in France and the Netherlands, where people overwhelmingly voted against a European constitution. The EU passed it anyway. When in 2008 the Irish voted against the Treaty of Lisbon, they simply organized a new referendum with a better funded pro-EU campaign this time. Perhaps that's why we are hearing so many politicians pleading for a new Brexit referendum. And in 2015, the people from Greece voted against European bailout conditions of their government debt crisis. Their government passed it anyway with even more harsh conditions. And I could go on with more examples for quite some time. So do stay on your guard and protect the outcome of the Brexit referendum with all that you've got. My dear friends, we are the future of the Western world. We are perhaps, maybe even the hippies of our time. We are real counterculture at this moment, and it is time for a Western renaissance. My friends, again, it was my great honor being here and my great privilege to stand here before you today, and together we will and we have to make our countries great again. Thank you very much.